330 miles long with 43,118 feet of climbing. This bikepacking route explores the vastness of the Pine Mountain region, starting at Breaks Interstate Park and heading off west towards the sunset and the infamous Wardaddy Loop. Traversing the Grand Canyon of the South, it is a showcase of the best of these rugged and historic Appalachian mountains. Superb mountain line scenery tracing Kentucky-Virginia border and a tradition of pure, hard adventure. This course is truly breathtaking, both literally and metaphorically. Stay tuned as we officially unveil the Breakdown Bikepacking Route. Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Kentucky Cycling YouTube channel. Welcome to the next Zoom interview in the Kentucky Cycling Connection series. I'm excited to introduce my guests today, who are Shawn LeMaster, co-owner of 361 Degree Adventures, John Maggard, owner of TrailSick, which puts on the Wardaddy race, who partnered in the development of the Breakdown Bikepacking Route. Also, we have a longtime adventure racing buddy of Shawn's, Doug Ritzert, who completed the inaugural ride with Shawn. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
What's up, Nathan?
Shawn, why don't we start with you? For those viewers who may have missed the interview a few weeks ago with Shawn in Dallas, where we talked about the 361 adventures, as well as the Red River Gorge overnighter bikepacking route, I'll include a link to the interview in the YouTube description for that. But Shawn, can you tell us a little bit about how and when the idea for the Breakdown Bikepacking Route came to be?
Yeah, right on, Nathan. So 361, we put on adventure races, and we've actually been putting on an adventure race at Breaks Interstate Park since 2013, I think it is. So super familiar with the area. So this kind of morphed into what it is now, this bikepacking route. We played around in Breaks for years, realized the potential that it had, and we had biked a lot in the area. That's where we're at with it now. It morphed into what was a 24-hour adventure race into a 300 plus mile bike ride.
When did you start thinking, hey man, this would make for a great bikepacking route?
I think after 3-4 years of being down there and, riding the hills and seeing the scenery, it was kind of in our head that it had potential to turn into a long distance kind of adventure bike. So it was always in the back of our heads. And then last year, we had anticipated to roll it out kind of end of April, but then some things happened. So we put it on pause, and now we're stoked to actually get it out into the world and let riders tackle it.
Well, good. So long time in the making, but worth the wait. So John, for those who may not be familiar, please tell us a little bit about TrailSick and the Wardaddy race.
Yeah, so TrailSick kind of came about a couple years ago. So I've been racing for probably around 20 years at this point, and I've traveled all over the U.S. doing so. Back in 2018, myself and Merle Hacker, we went out to Breckenridge to do the Breck Epic 6-day stage race. On the way back, we were talking about the race and how awesome it was. And there's no reason that we couldn't do something similar to that, in Eastern Kentucky, because we had been training the whole year. We'd been training and doing all of our training rides in Eastern Kentucky. So that's where we're getting all of our good elevation gain and stuff like that to train. We kind of brainstormed some ideas on different routes that we would love to do. And really the way it ended up playing out, we had one route that we were using a lot for training. And that was one of our favorite routes that we still do. But it had just a couple of sections that may not be, super race friendly, to have a big crowd of people come blitzing down these little single lane roads into busy traffic or whatever. So we ended up doing some reroutes, coming up with a loop that we thought was pretty awesome. It kind of highlights some of the nicer gravel roads over there in Hyden. But then we also started tying in, bigger loops. And we just kept kind of expanding it until we got a loop that we were really happy with, a 68-mile loop at this point. And we kind of pride ourselves on saying that it's the hardest mountain bike race in Kentucky. Yeah, we've got plenty of potential to make it harder if anybody wants to contest that.
So 68 miles of mountain biking definitely sounds hard to me.
I mean, a lot of it is gravel, but it's got that sweet Kentucky chunky dirt road, gravel, and things that make it, it makes it really tough. And, you know, a lot of people were asking before the first race what they should ride. You know, should they bring a mountain bike? Should they bring their cross bike or their gravel bike or whatever? And we're saying, like, yeah, I mean, you can ride it on whatever you want, but if you want to somewhat enjoy it, bring a hardtail, bring some gears, and it's a tough route. Pretty serious elevation gain, and it's not just that the climbs are long, but they're also really steep. So that's what makes it tough. Is, you know, you might have a 1 mile climb, but it's going to be at probably 20 or 30% in places.
Wow. So we're going to bring up the route page on the 361 degree adventure site here in just a minute. But one note that caught my eye when describing the route reads as follows. It says, not sure what you're getting into? We'd suggest doing the Wardaddy race and then imagine adding a couple hundred more miles. This is one of those routes that's actually harder in real life than on paper. Thinking about some of those steep climbs. As we move through this, we're going to see a lot of that repeated theme. This is hard. This is a challenge, or this will break you down. So, Doug, Shawn tells me that you're a longtime adventure racing buddy of his, but that you've also ridden the infamous Colorado Trail with him. Can you tell us a little bit about how Shawn roped you into doing this ride with him and how the actual experience matched up to your expectations of the ride?
Well, he didn't have to work very hard to rope me into it. He basically just sent me a text and said, hey, you want to ride this in a couple weeks? And I had some vacation time left for the year and thought, yeah, sure, let's do it. We have a history of such interactions together. Shawn will send me a message, hey, what do you think about this? And as often as I can, I respond, I'm in, let's do it.
Well, cool.
And as far as my expectations and the reality, I don't know if it was harder than I imagined. Having raced the Breakdown, I knew that there was a lot of fire road, double track. So my expectation was that we could cover ground a little bit quicker than we ended up being able to. So I guess that was probably a difference in expectation and reality. I thought we could ride it in a shorter period of time than we did. And some of the segments, especially at the beginning, getting up on Pine Mountain and the first segment up to the fire tower, that was incredibly difficult and slow. And then the bit out to the west in the Redbird Crest, that also was unexpected. I didn't expect all of the double track and ATV trails. And so we didn't cover that quite as quick as I thought we might. But that segment is gorgeous, really beautiful, very difficult, like John was talking about, but there is some really beautiful spots out there, and it's pretty remote. I mean, you're not going to cross paths with many people, which is also, to me, a bonus.
Cool. So now that we've met all the players, I want to bring up the Breakdown Bikepacking Route page for its official unveiling here. So while I go to share my screen, does anybody want to give me a drum roll? That's pretty good. So,
Like there should be hallelujah music or something.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of anticipation that's been building up around this. I'll say right off the bat, I just want to comment that is a beautiful looking bike. The sort of the design here. I know we're going to come back to this design as we move our way down the page, but can you tell me about who designed this beautiful sticker to represent the route?
Yeah, so it's Gosia Black, and she was featured. I'd seen a few of her articles on bikepacking.com. Thought it was a super long shot. I mean, because she does, phenomenal work, and, this is kind of her hometown, route. But I emailed her, and oh my goodness, she's like the nicest person, super humble. So yeah, she made this for us. Watercolors, like who does that? That's like incredible. So after she, and I wasn't for sure exactly what she would turn out, but then she sent me this, and I was like, oh my gosh, go see, like that is incredible. So yeah, it's all her. She's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's really beautiful. I mean, it makes you definitely want to go on an adventure, and it tells you just so much, right by looking at it. So we know that it's the Breakdown route. We know it's from 361-degree adventures. We know we're going to be traversing along Kentucky and Virginia. I mean, it really epitomizes, sort of this experience here. I want to just kind of right off the bat touch on some of these metrics. So 331 miles that you ride in over a 3 to 7 day period, 35% of which is unpaved, 5% single track, which is hard. It's 95% rideable with a total ascent of 43,118 feet. I really have a hard time getting my mind around 43,118 feet of climbing, but maybe it's best epitomized by this quote here from Clint C, which says the route is incredibly hard. It broke me down. And I love that. Shawn, can you tell me about who Clint C is and what his role in things is here?
Yeah, so Clint Cagle, he was one of the guys super stoked about doing the breakdown last year. We had to hit pause on it, and he actually emailed me. I was like, hey, I'd still love to, do this on my own. Any chance I could get a GPX and give it a go? So emailed back and forth, kind of gave him a objective of vetting the course, and he went for it. And I actually think that his tackling of it was harder than our ride of it. He had to kind of short course a few of the sections. His route was completely unknown to him. So blind faith, he went after it. And, maybe 80% of the route we knew was legit, but he ran into like blowdown and he, almost blew his Achilles out pushing his bike so much. Wow. So Clint definitely weathered the first storm. And so that's when he got back, it was like a 3-line email, and that was the first line of his email. So I was like, yeah, okay, we've got a good route.
Well, I love his quotes throughout this. He's a bit of a simple poet, if you will. I mean, it's just the very direct, hard-hitting endorsement
yeah.
of an aptly named route, right?
Yeah, right on. And all those quotes, they're actually from his trail notes. Man, talk about a guy that, like, above and beyond, his vetting of the route was absolutely incredible. Like the GPX files, the notes, here's the water sources. He found gas stations we didn't even know were there. He did a phenomenal job of piecing together, 98% of it. And, from his data, we actually had to reroute a few sections that, some storms had come through, and there was like, as much as we love hike-a-bike, there was, 4 or 5 miles of blowdown that would, just skunk our riders. So huge shout out and thanks to Clint for making the first go of it.
Yeah, that's great. So speaking of hike-a-bike, so this route is listed as 95% rideable. So doing some quick math, it looks like there's maybe about 17 miles of hike-a-bike. Is that about right?
So with the numbers here, we actually erred on the side of caution. I think it's actually more, depending on, how hard you are. It's more rideable than 95%. I just budgeted in the, realm of reason.
Gotcha.
Not that it would matter if you're hiking 14 or 17. But yeah, there's some hike-a-bike, but it's 17 miles over 330. So yeah.
Gotcha. And we touched on this in the last interview. I know that the other kind of rating that you see, like on a bikepacking.com route, is a level of difficulty, a scale of 0 to 10. And can you refresh my memory as what you'd say that you'd give this based upon your experience with other bikepacking routes?
Yeah. And Doug can give his number. I'm going to guess it's around 7.5. And I say that because it is very physical, but resupply, really not an issue. Lots of bailouts. Well, not good bailouts, but not kill you bailouts. So yeah, I'd give it around 7.5, 8.
7, maybe even a little less, probably, because the technical bits, there aren't that many. It's just physical, it's a lot of uphill.
Yeah.
So all of this is kind of subjective in a way, because we all have different expectations and impressions, so rideability or difficulty, you're gonna get a different take on that depending on who you are and what you've done before. It's a lot of climbing, but so are other bike packing routes. This one has a lot of rideable road, either gravel or paved or dirt roads.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that probably makes the difficulty a little less.
Gotcha.
Than say something else that's got more single track and less road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the next section of the site here, or the page rather, provides us with a nice overview. So Shawn, since you wrote this, I assume you want to just kind of give us an overview of the route?
Yeah, sure. So it starts at Breaks Interstate Park. That's one of the lesser known parks. You know, when I tell people about the route or about the breakdown race or whatever, they're like, where? I'm like, well, you know, it is my favorite park in Kentucky. It's, you know, Kentucky, Virginia border there. So it starts there. You gain the Pine Mountain Trail. Not a lot of people know unless you're right from the region. Goes through there. And then you're kind of following the Kentucky, Virginia border there for quite a while until you drop down at what's called Birch Knob Tower. And that's definitely one that worth riding your bike out there and climbing up that thing. And then you drop down and then you go over to John's neck of the woods. And I thought it was funny, you know, how we kind of lose perspective. He was talking about the Wardaddy route. He was like, oh, you know, it's only 65 miles.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's like, okay. So you do some of the Wardaddy loop. John's section is phenomenal. Maybe the best section out there. It's just, you know, you go through Redbird Crest, a lot of good stuff out there. And so you reach the far west end of the route, you flip around and kind of take a different, more southern route back to the park. But then you're going through those small, you know, Kentucky towns. And, you know, when Doug and I did it, we were fine with, you know, dropping a half an hour, hearing a convenience store, you know, tell us stories because that's the best stories you get. So you get that kind of interaction, that kind of hospitality. People like, no, wait, what are you doing? Like, why is that on your bike? So they're very curious, very friendly.
Yeah.
And then you eventually make your way back to Breaks.
Cool. So you mentioned the Pine Mountain Trail. And then there's also a mention here of the Little Shepherd Trail. Could you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I missed that one. That's the section that we're riding. It's kind of rougher pavement, like that lane and a half road, and it's a lot of people ride it on motorcycles. There's a few cyclists that ride it as well, and it's follows this very, very, very long ridge line. So, you know, on a clear day, you get all the views. Super windy. So it's like one of those things that people do. So we definitely included it on the route. And yeah, it's a Little Shepherd Trail. Pretty cool.
Well, and so for those of us who are not familiar with the Breaks Interstate Park, tell us why it's called the Grand Canyon of the South.
Yeah, so it's you would not expect it to be in Kentucky, Virginia. It seriously is. It's like the canyons are extreme. So, you know, when we put on adventure races, people kind of have a certain expectation, but then when they would get to Breaks, they would be like, oh wow, like this is legit. Like, you know, the elevation is for real. Getting clipped out's for real. It's a very rugged, very remote, just awesome, you know, awesome place. It's like it's been transplanted almost from out west, except you have all the greenery in the river. So it's super cool place. Like I said, it's my favorite park around Kentucky here.
Cool. Sounds definitely worth checking out and pretty epic. So here we are, guys. The Ride with GPS route for the Breakdown Bikepacking Route, live and ready to consume. So let's bring this up on Ride with GPS. All right. And so I thought maybe a way we could approach this is by digging into the details of the route and just have Shawn and Doug maybe walk us through maybe what your experience was as you went through the route. And then John can add information based upon his experience and helping to plan the route. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, yes. Right on.
Where is that starting point? Okay, so over here in the east, let me kind of move things around. I'm going to take a look at this elevation. There's lots of hills here, but I'm going to try to change the view a bit to, there we go. So we can actually see a little more of the route. So if we drill in here. All right, so breaks. So your start and finish is up here, and I assume this is probably the state line. So is where you start, is that on the Virginia side of the state line?
Yeah, breaks is actually in Virginia, but you very shortly cross over in Kentucky there.
Yeah, and then this, just looking down at this elevation, that looks punishing. I mean, so right away you get one heck of a climb there. Talk me through it and tell me where to go. Tell me about your journey.
Yeah, so I'll introduce it there. That first climb, I think I described on the page there. It's a slap in the face hike a bike. What did you think about it, Doug? I know that was one of your favorite parts.
Well, having done the Breakdown adventure race a number of times, I knew what to expect as far as that first climb up onto Pine Mountain. So it wasn't unexpected. For those who've never done it, I think Shawn's description will be appropriate. It will set you up for the rest of the route. Basically, it'll get your attitude adjusted right off the bat.
So
yeah,
starts out about 8 miles in and goes all the way up to about 17 miles. I mean, it's about a 9-mile climb. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And so the good part about that, though, is that is one of the harder, if not hardest sections, just because, you are pushing your bike up a mountain. Good thing about it is that if it does reject you, shoot, you're only like what?
Yeah, that's right.
25 miles from the park. So, you can camp up on Pine Mountain for the night and flip back around, go home the next day if it spits you out.
Yeah.
You'll get the chance to get the full experience very early on.
So sort of a baptism by fire, so to speak. So,
yeah, right on. And
yeah,
top of that, that's the highest point of the route, top of that climb, and that's Birch Knob Tower. When Doug and I did it, you probably saw from the pictures, they're super foggy. So you could, it was kind of funny. There's a sign up at Birch Knob Tower, and it's like something about a view. Like, yeah, right on. But we have been up there several times when it is clear. Phenomenal view, definitely worth riding your bike out there, dropping it at the base and climbing up there.
Yeah.
Give it a look. Super cool, super odd structure up there to be just hanging out top of a mountain. So you gain the mountain, and then very shortly you drop off of the mountain there on the other side.
Yep.
I just want to jump in and add just a tiny little bit of color. That first 20 miles, 25 miles, I think probably parts of that may be the most difficult of the whole route. There are parts of that to most riders that will be legitimately unrideable. The Pine Mountain Trail is just a foot trail. It doesn't see a lot of wheels, and the way the terrain and the vegetation is, I think people will be walking their bikes a lot through there.
All right, so you've completed this incredibly hard climb. You get that downhill. Now you're 30 miles in. Now what?
Yeah, so you pretty cool downhill there. Nice gravel along Mullins Road, and then you start clicking off some road miles there, going through. I think maybe Pound. You'll see Pound, a little resupply there, and then you're going to regain the Kentucky-Virginia border there on that. Longer, right in there, and that's the Little Shepherd Trail. So the next big hump there, that's the Little Shepherd Trail. So you gain it again.
That climb is actually on the road. That big climb it gets you up to the Little Shepherd Trail.
Okay. I know that. I mean, that's really close to Whitesburg, over where they have that Pine Mountain Summit Challenge. So a lot of those guys over there do a lot of those rides up some of those big climbs. They utilize that the Little Shepherd's Trail. They utilize that a lot because it's just a beautiful, beautiful road up there.
Yeah, and that Little Shepherd Trail, that actually takes you into Kingdom Come State Park. And that's what John's talking about. They have a challenge there, and I mean the climbs are so legit. It's like, like I said, it's a thing. So Little Shepherd Trail takes you to Kingdom Come State Park. That is for when Doug and I rode it. That was our first stop, our first night camping, and I think that first day, super foggy though.
Okay.
Back to the east. There you go.
Is it this guy?
That
yeah,
one right
that's
there.
the guy.
Okay.
Yep. So that's that was a shelter. That's at Kingdom Come State Park. Super
So
foggy
about
that night. We were
75
having
miles in.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
I thought it was farther, but you know.
I know.
It felt
that's
farther.
That's what I was saying at the beginning. I felt like we should have been farther than that.
That was tough too, though. Like Doug said, the days were super short, and we were socked in heavy with fog. So trying to ride at night, like seriously, we couldn't see, but 10, 15 feet in front of us. So we're like, "You tired? Yeah, I'm good. All right, let's call it." So really nice shelter there, though. It's like a two level, 2-story shelter. So yeah, we climbed up in the loft there. A great spot to call the first day.
How many days did you guys do the ride over?
4
a
days.
little over 3. Yeah.
3.5 to 4 days there. But you're basically envisioning, it might take someone, if they're doing more of a touring pace, maybe more like 7 days even. So somewhere between 3 and 7 days. You guys might have been beating yourself up over 74 miles. That seems like a heck of a lot with with all the climbing and things that are going on there. But I must just say respect for that 74 or whatever it ended up being. Okay, so then you're basically heading out for day 2. So tell us about your second day.
Yeah, so a little more of the Little Shepherd Trail there until you fall off the north side of the mountain, and now you're going to drop into like Kentucky land.
Gotcha.
So north is Kentucky, south is the Virginia side of it. So you're going to drop in to more asphalt there. And just a few notes there. The water that we called out, you more than likely will not have issues with water. I mean, it follows so many creek beds, so many streams and rivers, not an issue. So the water that we called out, and it's, we also made the cheat sheet for you there for the riders to have a much easier time processing what's going on. Those are like the super reliable or easy access spots. There's a lot more water on the course than just those little icons. Those are just the ones that you can, pretty confidently plan for. So just a little note on there. But what you're looking at there,
and this is still water that you would filter.
Yeah, pretty much any spring or anything that's not from a faucet, definitely filter that stuff. You may be regretting it after 5 or 6 days if you don't.
You're pointing out a reliable point to collect water to filter, as opposed to like a pump or something like that.
Yeah, right on. And then obviously, any other, man-made stuff we have on there, gas stations or grocery stores, those are all obviously, grab water there. We just, you can't clog up a map with 100 potential water spots. So there's like the, kind of bomb-proof water spots that you can plan for.
Yeah, I'll throw a little color in on that too. We rode the route without filtering at all. So we resupplied on water completely at potable sources, gas stations, etc.
And when you would stop and get water, I mean, how much water were you carrying with you from point to point to the next, if you went that way? I mean,
2 to 3 liters for me.
All right.
Yeah, we weren't in race pace, and we realized that. Like, that's one of our first world problem when I do things with Doug. It's like, well, are we going to race it or is it for fun? That's like the two teeter-totter things. We weren't at a recreational pace. We were pushing it hard, but we definitely weren't racing it either. So we were fine with filling up and not having to treat creeks and play the water speed game.
Is the Pine Mountain Settlement School, is that someplace worth stopping off and seeing?
It is. If there's that's a weird one. A super awesome place. They actually hosted us for one of our adventure races. If there's people around, right? It's a actual kind of active educational place.
Gotcha.
So if they have something going on, definitely pull in there, give it a look. A lot of cool stuff, but a lot of times, especially, like when we rode it, gate will be locked. So yeah, probably don't be snooping around in there if the gate's locked. Otherwise, yeah, super friendly. Cool place to stop.
I've done some rides over there around the settlement school, and they actually have, I just thought about this to note, but there's also like some fountains right off their drive in there that you can refill water too.
Nice. All right. So tell us about some other elements of your second day. Where did you make it to?
We made it a good clip past the settlement school there. I think before that, though, we're getting into John's territory now. So John designed all the kind of lollipop there, the sucker of the lollipop. That's his doing.
Yeah.
I really think it's
a lot of it.
Yeah. I think it's the better side of the route, just because you're throwing in a lot more dirt, a lot more, good gravel, bad gravel. So John will definitely be able to highlight this a little more for you.
Yeah, we passed through Hyden that on the second day. We had a pretty good resupply in Hyden. They've got some burger joints, so we had a nice lunch.
Which one's Hyden? Mile? Would you know?
Hyden is more to the north.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's that one. Nope.
I think it's that cluster there.
Yeah,
so we were there by lunchtime or a little after and did a resupply there. And then, like Shawn was alluding to, we started to get into the Redbird Crest area. One of the more beautiful parts for me was on the evening of the second day, riding some really nice flowy gravel roads when the sun was setting through the Redbird Crest, and it was just striking. Really a good memory.
As soon as you come out of Hyden there from where their store stop was in Hyden, as soon as you come out of there, you go up this road called Owl's Nest, and that is where the Wardaddy race starts right there. You go up this paved road for a couple of miles, and then you hit that super awesome gravel. It's super flowy, nice. It's a beautiful area.
It's really pretty.
Cool.
But yeah, that will link you over into the forestry district around the Redbird area. So there's a couple roads over there, which might be the ones that Doug's talking about. You go up one road called Twist and Sourwood, and then you turn on another gravel road called Granny's Branch. And those were two of the roads that Merle and I were training on, that we were like, we have to bring a race over here. Like these roads are just too awesome to not share with people.
Cool.
And you actually grew up somewhere in there, didn't you, John?
Yeah. So if you back up, back to like the Pine Mountain settlement area. So when Shawn first addressed me about this, he was wanting me to look over his route, and it was somewhere in this area that Shawn had dropped it down to like a road called 421, Highway 421. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the busiest roads in Eastern Kentucky. Like, it's a road I refuse to ride on. So Shawn give me the go ahead to reroute it however I see fit. And I thought that area from Pine Mountain on over to right around that 100-mile marker there, I think that is around Big Laurel area. So the Leatherwood area. So all of that section there past 100, mm-hmm. That's from there up to where that other store stop is at. That's called Yeetus. Mm-hmm. That's where I grew up as a kid. All of my family still lives through all that area, so I know that really well. And then down there where that next little water stop is, I think you'll go over the mountain right through there. And I had to add that in there because that's Maggard's branch. So I had to make sure I put Maggard's branch in there.
Gotcha.
But that goes up to the top of the mountain. So up there where those guys camped out, up on top of that ridge, I think that's where you guys camped out. You all had some photos and stuff up there from camping, maybe?
Yeah, we were the evening of the second night. We were actually on the ATV trails in the Redbird Crest.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we were much farther than that. I know where that's at though, John. That kind of goes through, and there are horses up there, and
So there's a bunch of wild horses up there roaming around. So that's an area that
really,
that's where I cut my teeth mountain biking up there. Like my family owns some property up there, and that drops you off. You come off that descent right beside of the house where I grew up. So
Okay.
Good. That was a fun descent too. I remember that
Yeah.
descent.
It's a long, not too steep,
Yep.
just a fast. Yeah. Yeah. So back from that,
Yeah.
so around that 115 mile marker, yeah, that's coming out of an area called Paul's Creek. And I grew up in Paul's Creek.
Are
Yep.
those horses actually wild horses?
Yeah. So when you're coming out of that area, the first house that you'll come to on the left, that's one of my family members, and like they have a bunch of horses and stuff, and they just, you know, some of them they have in their barn, and some they just take up there to let roam, and they
sort
go
of
up there
free
and
range
take
horses, if you will.
free range horses. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or that makes a lot more sense now. That was like one of the areas we were riding through,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Are we like? Is this right? Like, we're in like somebody's horse pasture. Like, what's up with this?"
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys made your way into Hyden, and then you were making your way north. And where'd you end up camping that second night? Is it up here? Like, did you go up to about 140 or maybe one?
No, so we were much further than that, but that's a good one to point out there, Nathan.
Okay.
That one in the upper right, yep, right there. That's Trace Branch Campground. John's been there. I think it's pretty legit. Hookups, water, electricity if you're going at a more touring pace to recharge your caches or equipment. So that's a good one to call out. But then Doug and I made it quite a bit further.
That Trace Branch Campground, I think that's maybe a half mile or something off the actual route, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little piece off the route, but it is like they've got hookups and water and all that stuff there. I mean, they don't have like a camp store, but you know, kind of a primitive campground.
We had a late afternoon, like a dusk resupply there at an interesting spot. I'm not sure what the name of that town was.
Far northwest. Nathan, keep on trucking.
All right. Like here?
Yeah,
right there.
Right there.
There it is. Tweaker gas station. That's very appropriate.
So funny story there. So we were pretty cold. I needed thicker gloves, so we see this little store, I guess you'd call it, right before this gas station. So I go in there. Kid you not, there's a guy with a shotgun sitting right at the door, just sitting there, like super chill, like, "Hey, what's up?"
Just like the Walmart greeter.
Well, yeah, it was like, okay. And so I'm like, well, I'm looking for some gloves. And so I look around, and there's maybe like 2 shelves, maybe like 5 items, like in total in the whole place. But he did happen to have gloves for like $2. So I'm like, yes, like score, I got the gloves. So I'm like, well, that was interesting. And then I was like, well, there's a little gas station right up here. And he kind of looks at me like I was obviously, not from around here. I was trying to lay on my, accent a little thicker too, so they didn't know I was kind of a transplant. We go to this gas station. Oh my goodness. And I remembered when I got there, John had like kind of said something about it. And I was like, oh, I was like, okay, now I get it. And it was right at dusk, pretty sketchy. We were, I guess, lucky or, kind of smart about not getting rolled. So yeah, I think I put in the notes there. Yeah.
Sketch,
you're
limited
not,
hours. Visit only if necessary or if you need meth.
Yeah. So give that one a pass.
I've stopped there several times. It is definitely a sketchy gas station. But
all right. So did you guys end up staying here?
Farther yet?
Further yet.
Yeah,
so you made some good progress the second day.
Yeah. Yeah, we were probably. I think we were in that area. Yeah, Shawn.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the Redbird Crest area, and that is a wildlife management area, John.
Yeah. Yep. Looks like there's a lot more twisty, curvy, switchbacky type activity going on through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right where your cursor is, I called that one out, and we'll see where this lands. Doug and I may have not hit it quite right. We dropped right off the hill there to the river. and then kept trucking.
Yeah.
There may have been a better route, but it's inconsequential. Like the bike whack
John
is
says
only
no.
15. No,
No,
that's it. So we
that's the
got
way.
it right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the way.
perfect. Awesome. Yeah, so we call that out. Not a huge deal. I mean, it was 20 minutes of bike whacking, but it does take you to a creek crossing. I think Doug actually fell into the creek there. Handled it
No.
really well. Handled it
Different
like a
place.
champion. Oh, okay. So yeah, just call that out there. That way people know that they are en route and they're not just, willy-nilly pushing their bikes through some bramble. That is the route.
All right.
According to John.
You think this might have been where you stayed?
It's hard to tell.
In that area,
Yeah.
I feel like we were about 100 miles for day 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So right there where that little camp is at, as soon as they cross the creek and you turn back right onto the gravel,
Yeah.
that is the actual Wardaddy climb.
Okay.
It's what we named the race after.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't look like much compared to everything else.
It's all relative, I'm sure. What's the surface?
Gravel.
Yeah.
Loose gravel.
Yeah.
And I was running a Garmin Edge, and I have one of the, because obviously I love climbing, but one of the stats that I have right up there is percent grade.
Yeah.
So that was fun to see. I was like, what do you think we're at, Doug? 24? Is it 28? Are we going to top 30? So that was a fun little metric to keep an eye on.
All right. For you all, you're moving on to your third day. Talk me through some features of the route from this next section. Ooh, it gets awfully switchbacky through here.
Yeah, all that section up there, that's all part of our Wardaddy race through there also. So all of that section is really good, tame gravel for the most part until you get down there probably to, what is it, after 190. So that section, you can kind of see that other little lollipop there to the left. That is actually not part of the Wardaddy route, but that's one of our favorite sections to ride over there. So I added that in there for Shawn because I thought that was a really fun off the grid section, more dirt, ATV trail type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember there was a really good segment. I can't remember distance, but it's like John's talking about. It was all ATV, but it really had it was pretty smooth. You could you could ride pretty fast and had a lot of good flow. It was really fun.
Yeah,
that piece was all rideable.
Yeah, that's a good section there. All the squiggly section there and Redbird Crest.
Yeah,
definitely one of the better highlight sections as far as riding goes.
Yeah. It looks like quite a bit of camping available. Would you say for the average person doing this, they don't really have to worry about reservations? I mean, is camping pretty readily available?
All that section over there in that Redbird management area, there's a ton of just, camps beside of the road. Nothing you have to reserve, just pretty much camp wherever you want. But there's
Do you need to get a permit or something ahead of time or no?
No.
Okay.
The place where we camped the second night, it was basically, we just dropped our bikes and set up a tent. There was not even a improved campsite there.
Gotcha.
And kind of a funny story where we're camped there. We're really back in deep, at least I feel like it. And I say to Shawn, we wake up in the morning, it's still dark. I say to Shawn, man, there's nobody back in here. It's just you and me. And those words were no more out of my mouth than the light from somebody's headlamp hit our tent. So it happened to be the first day of rifle season, I think, it was a hunter who was traipsing his way back in there, and he could not figure out for the life of him what he was seeing in his headlamp.
It did not compute.
Not at all. So we were basically on the trail.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
One good thing too, like where that is like a wildlife management area, like people do hunt over there, but they have like a little stricter rules on, their rifle season is only like one day or only one weekend. Most people over there are only bow hunting. And then there's really not a ton of people that utilize that area over there. So there's someone to walk up on you all. That's pretty impressive, really.
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Yeah.
All right. So talk to me about this next section.
Yeah. So the obvious standout there on the elevation profile after you get out of the WMA there is that one. good news about that. That is a road climb for the most part. The foothill there is a hot day exposed gravel, but then you hit asphalt, and you just grind it out. You're gaining the mountain again. Yeah. And that foothill section is, I don't know. I think Doug and I were both feeling it there right before the climb. I'm not sure why. Probably because we'd already climbed like 30,000 feet or something. But yeah, so we were kind of hitting Bonkville there right before the climb, but then we ended up hitting the asphalt, and then the actual climb where you gain the mountain there, not as bad as what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I kind of had my eye on that one. I was like, oh, that's going to be a bad one. But it was actually pretty manageable, all rideable. And then top of that is going to actually take you back to the other side of the Little Shepherd Trail again.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So then you're back on the Little Shepherd. And at this stage, you're obviously
you're on the Virginia side,
headed at least in the general direction. Yeah, headed in the general direction of home again.
Yeah.
So a few highlights there. So Little Shepherd, after you gain the ridge there, that section of the Little Shepherd is actually dirt.
Wow.
It's not paved like the side that you come up on. Rollers, nothing too significant there. And then once again, you're going to drop off the mountain. And help me out here. I believe that drops into Cumberland. Yep. So Cumberland has a few things.
Subway.
Doug and I ate at a Subway at like 8 o'clock. And I think they have a small grocery store, pretty much what you would need, especially if it's during the daylight hours. Yeah. So another, resupply must highlight there. So we resupply
really close to Black Mountain there too. It's what I was telling Shawn. We could always probably figure out a way to go over Black Mountain. So that would be something we could always add.
In case people didn't feel like there was enough climbing.
In case there was not enough.
Right. Okay. Y'all are interesting breed of rider. It's pretty high thrill adventure seeking. If you think, okay, I didn't get enough with 43,000 feet of climbing. I think I'd like to go over the highest point in Kentucky and do Black Mountain too.
Probably be added in there just because it is the highest point.
Just because, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we've had our eye on that. Like, yeah, we're with you. we just haven't had the to make it happen. It's like a lot of strip mine. So there's some figuring to do in there.
All right. So, and did you guys make it all the way to Cumberland on your third day, or where did you end up camping?
Yeah, we resupplied in Cumberland, ate fresh at Subway, and then we trucked on along. Mm-hmm. And so our third night, we actually kind of did a little covert camping at Cane Patch Campground. That section's kind of dry of camp places. I know when Clint did it, I don't know if it was this section, but he was maxing himself out pretty much every day, riding pretty hard, getting 6 hours of sleep or something. I think he camped behind like a Napa Auto Parts once. So we weren't to that level. We kind of covert camped in there. Really nothing to call out there as far as campsites or resupply. So we think we rode pretty late that night, maybe 10-ish.
Yeah,
and then
it was late.
Yeah. So that was our last night out and about. And then got up and just for people that are kind of planning how they're going to go about it, fall months, we were riding not quite sun up, a little past sun up to sundown. But yeah, those super short days make it kind of challenging. If you're riding it spring, summer, you're going to have a huge window to do your thing, not have to worry so much about planning your camp spots as so precise, or you can just, Clint it and find you a Napa Auto Parts and duck behind there. That's kind of part of the game as well. So
Clint, I'm sure would appreciate using his name as a verb like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Dude's legend. He's got all the quotes on there. No, yeah, for him to vet this thing completely blind. He didn't know us either. Like he never had any idea who we were. He was like, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. I was like, all right, buddy.
And he was doing it by himself, huh?
Yeah, by himself, riding at night, Achilles blown out, pushing his bike.
Wow.
through blowdown. I was like, yeah, this is great.
All right. Well, talk to me, I guess, about what would be was the last day of the ride for you guys.
Yeah, last day pretty well, I would say pretty mellow. We were actually trying to beat a huge storm that was rolling in. We'd had good weather up until that day, except for the fog cloud that rolled in on day one. Little chilly. And so actually for me, I had not planned on getting this vetted and out in November. I thought it was going to have to, wait till another revisit in spring. But then kind of got a, hair in my biscuit, texted Doug. He was all for it. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I ended up borrowing a sleeping bag from my brother, bless his heart. I like opened the thing up and it's like this, Caribbean breeze, like 65-degree dream sleeping bag. I'm like, bro, you trying to kill me here? So, I mean, it was getting down, to, around freezing. So I had some, fun nights sleeping out there in my Caribbean sleeping bag.
Shawn, I gotta call out this hair in the biscuit expression. I have to admit I've never heard that one, yet I know exactly what you mean because that is self-explanatory, right? So that's pretty cool. Nice expression there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, sometimes you just get it, and yeah, we were happy to make it happen though. So pulled the hair out and got it vetted, getting it out. Last day though, trying to beat that storm. I think mainly through here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. I think this is mainly blacktop. It's pretty blacktop, lane and a half through some rural, Virginia.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly blacktop. And then I think the next
all the way to Hayside is pretty much paved from Pound to Hayside. Pound to Hayside.
And that little park you have your cursor on, that's Flanagan Dam. So you ride across the dam there at Flanagan Reservoir. And that is actually, if you've ever heard of like Russell Fork, they have a huge paddle festival there every October where the kayak equivalent of us crazies, that they're running the Russell Fork River. So they release at the dam there, follow the bubble down Russell Fork, class 3, class 4 in their kayaks. That's kind of the head of where they dump the water to run the Russell Fork. So that's the park there. A few picnic shelters, obviously water access there if you need it. And then the next little thing you see there, that gas station. Yeah, that's the top of the hill gas station. That's the one we stopped at, Doug, right before the storm was rolling in and broke out our rain gear. And then you drop into Hayside, which is your next, right in there. That's Hayside. So Hayside has hosted us several times for our adventure races. Super cute, quirky little town. Definitely worth. Not a lot of restaurants, but I think there's like 3 pizza restaurants. So you can spin the roulette wheel of pizza, or if you do it multiple times, just hit each one up, see which one's your favorite. So definitely stop in Hayside there. Cool place. There's a few other little things there. The little call out there of like the little guy sleeping, I think it is. That's actually a caboose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're super friendly. And we actually, the owner there, she had worked with us permitting the Breakdown race several years. And then when I saw her name, I was like, oh, I think I know you. So I reached out to her. She was like, yeah, absolutely, put us on the route. So that's a cool little tiny house caboose you can stay in if you're going at a more touring pace. There's another one up in John's area. I think they're closed now, but it's Windover Bed and Breakfast. So again, if you're more of a tourer, if you're making it more of a vacation type thing, you could hit these up and, stay overnight, get a shower, get a reset in. And that's one of those. So that's a little town of Hayside. And then from there, you're going to hit your last section of off-road to get up to the actual park. And if you see there where it says Bartlett, Nathan, it's around mile 330, I'm guessing, or 325 maybe. Yep, right in there. That's where it goes off-road again. And kind of like how it started, you get to push your bike up, some dirt again. So it's a good, circle back to the way you started. Some of that's rideable. Yeah, some of it's rideable. Doug was riding some downhill
through here.
probably unadvisable. But, you know, he was at the end, so I don't think he'd care if he rolled off the hill or not.
Yeah,
So
it looks pretty
that's your
hilly.
last section of off-road.
Yeah.
A lot of weird little rollers there, steepness. And yeah, you push your bike back to the park there, and then coast in for the last 2 minutes and feel like you ride. Take your picture by the gigantic love sign that they have at the park. Smile, pretend like you had a great time.
Yeah, well, and speaking of pictures, I mean, I think pictures are worth 1,000 words here. So, so this is you guys at the Breaks Interstate Park. Maybe I'll just kind of scroll through these, and you let me know if there's any thing noteworthy that you want to comment on any of these pictures, or maybe where they are. This is Pine Mountain Trail, it says.
Yeah, that's gaining the Pine Mountain Trail there. That's where most of the hike-a-bike is. Just getting up on it's a hiking trail for the most part. Pine Mountain Trail is as pictured.
Yeah, that doesn't look very right at all.
No, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Birch Knob Tower Shelter. That's one of the earlier stops if you're going at not a slower pace, but you know, it's an option for you.
Okay. You guys did this on hardtail, so I think that's you call that out. That's kind of your recommendation.
Yeah, I think collectively we agree that's probably your best option. You can obviously ride it on like Doug was actually thinking before he rode it, of riding it on a rigid fork. I don't know where did you land on that now, Doug? Now that you've ridden it,
that's what I would do. I'd ride it on a rigid fork. There's enough road. I think the benefit would outweigh the any discomfort.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's one of the earlier resupply points. I think that's in the first 100 miles, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. Another cool little like town. That's some premium John Maggard gravel right there.
Beautiful. That's riding up to the horses.
Yep.
That's a pretty good shot at getting incline. It's hard with pictures to really show incline, but this one does a pretty good job of it. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. That end of that second day, just gorgeous riding into the sun.
That's Redbird.
And that's Little Shepherd Trail. And yeah, you actually see Pound twice. Once on your way west, and then once on your way back to the park.
This is your animal friend that you made, Shawn? Yeah,
so usually it's a picture of a dog. Yeah. Make a lot of dog friends. Yeah, can't pass up this cute little guy, even if you're not a cat person.
Yeah.
Although we had lots of opportunities to make dog friends.
Yes. So. Wow.
Yeah, that looks like the finish. That's the push up to the park.
Yeah, this is. There's remember how hard it was in the beginning.
Yeah,
that's right. You go out the same way you went in.
And so here's the end.
And then, yeah, that's the obligatory finisher picture. And check out those cool glasses. $2 glasses. Got 2 pairs of those. I was pretty thrilled about it.
Nice. So next thing you guys have put together this really cool resupply cheat sheet, which is pretty darn awesome. I mean, very easy to either print out and carry with you, or just have, on your phone, or something you can bring up as a resource. I'd say this is a very, very useful tool. You guys want to say anything more about that?
Yeah, thanks. We create something a lot more ghetto than this when we do our rides of other people's routes.
Yeah.
So kind of know how it goes as planning these things. Some people get in deeper than others, but just trying to condense it down so our riders aren't trying to have to process all that information on their own. Yeah. So I thought this would be the best way to do it, to where very simple 2 pages, they can see, okay, here's where the next water is. Here's some possible camping. Oh, here's where I can get a Snickers.
Yeah,
That
that's
type
really
stuff kind of
awesome.
condensed down to a 2-pager.
I mean, I think if you're out on the trail and you're not sure how how it's going to go, and you're trying to make a decision about where you're going to camp that night or where you're going to be able to get food or resupply. I mean, something like this is really, really nice and saves you a lot of work and planning. So what a great resource.
Yeah, like those guys were saying earlier too, that there's so many options for water if you're filtering it. Like there's water everywhere, but those are just like the
Yeah.
easiest main spots that you can depend on. And the same way with the camping, like there's tons of camping all throughout.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Tell me about the Grand Depart event that you've got planned.
Yeah, right on. So for those not super familiar with kind of the bike packing scene, for the bigger routes, whether it's, Smoke and Fire, Stagecoach, Colorado Trail, Tour Divide, there's what's called a Grand Depart. And so this is when riders show up at the same time, same day. And, you're not all riding it together, but you all take off together. So it's more of a community. Some of them are more of a race feel if you want to kind of race pace it and see how you stack up against the riders for that year. So that's what a Grand Depart is. We brought on Oveja Negra. They are a bike bag making company out of Salida. And another one of those things, like when I contacted Gosia, I was like, well, these guys make awesome bags. I'll email them, see where they land on it. And they were all about it. So, it kind of fell into place. They were like, well, yeah, of course we'll get on board with this. So they sent us a few bags and such. So they're like the presenting sponsor. And I'd really encourage you, if you're new to it or if you've ridden out your, cheaper bags or you're looking for a better bag, definitely check them out. Great company. All their stuff is like hand sewn in Colorado. So that is October 23rd. Super informal. Like, these things are super chill. We'll, get together the night before, hang out, swap stories, and then all roll out on the 23rd around sunrise. And obviously everyone will be on a much different pace. Some people will be racing it, some people will be taking their week vacation to do it, and that's all good. It's more of a camaraderie type feel to the event.
Yeah. So I noticed you've got this Grand Depart Facebook event. So you're asking people if they're interested in it, to at least express their interest. I mean, is there any kind of a sign up process, or is it basically you just show up?
Yeah, for this, just show up. Like, you don't even have to letter of intent or anything. Just show up. Breaks is huge lodge, huge picnic shelter. So even if something completely nutso happens and there's a couple dozen people show up, it's all good. So yeah, that's more so so we can kind of get out the information, build a little camaraderie around it.
Yep.
And put up schedules and such. So, and then kind of the other thing on that, even if you're not doing the Grand Depart, we encourage you to hit up the Breakdown Facebook page, post pictures of your route, of your ride, of what you saw out there. Like you said, we're all about pictures. So that's kind of the two main resources, and also how we're going to get out the word, is those two Facebook things.
This is like a big inaugural event. You mentioned that sometimes they do this annually around rides. Is that something that you plan on repeating?
Yes, we may switch up the date. We're not sure yet. October seemed prime time just because of the weather and the fall colors. So yeah, we'll see how this year goes. I'm pretty confident we'll do it every year, even if it's, like we said, just super informal, putting a date out there into the world. And then, riders know when and where to show up, and then they can ride it together if they want to.
So is this, is the spirit of this, you mentioned that some people are going to kind of come into it with a racing mentality. You expect to kind of have people, I wonder if you'll kind of end up with naturally like sort of an A group that's out getting at it. And then, maybe another group that's somewhere in the middle, and then another group that's more, riding at a party pace, or what do you anticipate would happen there?
That's awesome, Nathan. Like, so, Doug will have a good reference on this too. Just a little backstory on Doug. call him out here. He's an engineer. Doug is all about the numbers. He's all about pace and elevation gain and metrics. So I'll throw out the challenge here to 2 days. If anyone does this in under 2 days, that's the throwdown.
It'll
so
happen.
much so, it will happen.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, that's awesome.
Man, that's
So,
there's no way that somebody's getting very much sleep if they're taking that approach. I'll just say that.
no, like just a few pace wise. So Doug and I, we were not at a recreational pace, but certainly not at a race pace. And our actual moving time was around 43 hours. So yeah, and it is. I agree with Doug. It is possible to do it in under 2. I want to see the first person to do it though. So I'm actually going to give away Oveja Negra bag to the first rider that can do this thing in under 2 days.
Wow.
I will mail you this cool top 2 bag, and they can get after it. So that's the throwdown. That's the challenge. I want to see the first person to ride it in under 2 days. And I have a few people in mind, like from our adventure racing community, like Eric Olson, Sarah Dahlman. I'm sure John has a few people in mind.
You're calling them out by name, man. You're really.
That's right.
You're throwing down the gauntlet.
Who do you have, John? I know Brian Schwarm does mega things,
yeah.
100 miles like it's nothing. Does he do these? Does he do the longer stuff?
I don't know that he does any backpacking, but I mean, I'm sure that if he wanted to do it, I think he could probably throw down a pretty insane time. So him, and then
who else you got?
The guy that won Wardaddy, Drew Dillman, he's been dabbling with some much longer stuff too. So might have to get him on board on that, because he's the one that he did the War Tough route that I made for him. And after he ended up doing the War Tough route, we used a lot of his portions from that route to kind of build on the breakdown route too.
Circle back to how hard is this? You know, we're coming at a rating from bikepacking, and I've mentioned this before, you know, through other interviews and avenues, is that bikepackers are really hard, we've determined. We thought we were hard as adventure racers until we started doing these routes, and we're like, wow, like you're legit. Like it's a hard thing. So their ratings they've lost perspective. Like we've done a few of their routes and it's like an 8 or a whatever. And we're like, wow. Like, so realize that when we say that this is a 7 or an 8, it is in the realm of it's in the realm of like that bikepacking mentality. Comparing apples to apples. If you're a normal, typical gravel rider or just a recreational rider, this is definitely going to be more on the 10-ish scale for you.
10 plus, maybe.
So yeah, 10
well,
plus.
And you mentioned, the whole point of, you could basically, if it breaks you down, potentially you could turn around. So I guess you may also have some folks who don't complete the whole thing, and I guess what's nice here is it is a loop, but if you got, a third of the way through it, it wouldn't be too hard to maybe grab the other part of it home or something and cut it short if you had to.
Certainly some bailout options. They're not greatest. It's like you're calling your cousin or trying to pick up a hillbilly Uber in Harlan County somewhere. But it's not like that dangerous type of bailout where you're like, oh, I'm in it now. Like this is a problem.
Yeah.
You're close enough to people and civilization to where you can talk your way into a ride or call somebody. But yeah, it'd suck. Like nobody wants to ride out, 150 miles and then have to call somebody. But yeah, it happens.
Yeah. A challenging ride. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. So I think we've talked through a number of these highlights, and we've talked about camping in some of the places. We've talked about food and water along the way. I love this little note, dogs. Is there any other story you want to say about dogs along this route?
And I know, it's part of it, but man, like everybody, every other place had a dog. Mm-hmm. And like we didn't have any problems. There was no nippers at our heels or anything. They were super chill.
Yeah.
Some barkers, growlers, but yeah.
My experience, most dogs just kind of want to protect their yard and let you know that you need to move along. All right. So in terms of connecting, talk to me about the breakdowning hashtag that you're rolling out here.
Yeah. So I didn't want to use breakdown. It's just like too much noise around that one. So breakdowning, tag that. It'll show up. I'm following it. Same thing there that I mentioned before, Breakdown Facebook page. That's like the main stop other than this web page. Join that, and we'll post photos, tidbits, whatnot there. We're on Instagram as well. We've already posted quite a few kind of photos of our route there, more of the camping type photo type things. And then if you're going to do the grand depart, like we talked about, go ahead, jump into that event. That way you'll know the actual specifics about that.
Tell me about the sticker.
Oh yeah, so sticker, kind of a I don't know, a snarky way of saying, okay, you did this. Here's what you get. You get a sticker. It's like a 2-3 inch sticker.
You're going to earn that sticker.
For finishing. Yeah, you're going to earn that. Probably be one of the well-earned stickers that you have. So yeah, after you finish it, if you do finish it, stopping at the park there, they know what's up. They'll give you your finisher sticker, and it's that Breakdown
really cool
bikepacking bike.
Yeah, no joke. And then I was totally entertained by this complaint hotline section. You want to talk about that, John?
Yeah, I think this was brained up when
you're offering a money back guarantee.
That's right, we are. This was brained out when Doug and I were pushing our bikes up a hill. But he, Doug asked me, he was like, are you thinking of turning this into like a pay for a race or something? Is it free? I was like, yeah. I was like, no, it'll be free. It'll continue to be free. And, like the question was why? And I think it's because, we freaking love it. We love riding our bikes. We love bike packing. And so we're trying to put this out there. And so kind of the snarky way, the complaint hotline is like, come on now. Like we full transparency. It's freaking hard. Go for it. It's free. So if you do have a complaint, here's a hotline, and it's actually a live number.
Whose number
so
is
call
that?
it. You'll get a record. It's Google Voice.
Oh,
so I have
you set up a okay,
little
gotcha.
message there. I'm surprised you didn't call it.
No, I didn't want to wake you up if it was your phone, right? So I will certainly after this interview.
Yeah, 24/7. Give that number a call. And then the actual real reason though, other than just being an a-hole about it, is that we want people to call it and leave us a message when they're actually riding the route. I think that'd be pretty cool. We'll use it in social media or maybe string it together with some content. But yeah, you have those thoughts at 4 a.m. when you're riding, you're like, oh, you've had a moment of clarity. Give us a call, leave us a message, let us know how your ride's going or how it's not going. And we'll see where we land on that. Yeah, I'm sure awesome. We'll get some real gems.
Awesome. Yeah. So there's the stickers. So talk to me about this leaderboard.
So yeah, Doug and I wrote it 3 days, 8 hours. Clint did a truncated version, 218.
Did
so
he do
the
as many miles
leaderboard,
as you guys?
No, he did not. He did ride very hard though on very little sleep. But I really couldn't I couldn't include him on this just because he did not do the full route. So super informal here. We're not going to turn this into a race, at least for now. Just an informal FKT board to see where people land on it. So if you do it super fast, email me, and that link is there. And what I'm looking for there is just a way to verify. So what I would need from you is a GPX route that I can overlay on top of my route to verify that you did it, 98% accurately. And then if you do hit the top 10, we'll throw you up there, put your ride link and all that so people can check it out. So again, pushing for the I think 2 days the target. I think people will do it faster than that, but I'd love to see somebody go ahead and hard charge this thing and knock it out in under 2 days and get them up on the board there.
Yeah. And another one of Clint's epic quotes, lots of up and down.
Yeah, that's straight Clint. He gave me some, gave me a lot to work with in his trail notes there.
Good deal. And then these are, I guess these are all partners or sponsors in some degree. Do you want to say something about these folks? Obviously, Trail.
Yeah, Oveja Negra is the big one. Obviously, well, other than Trail Sick. And, you know, a thing about working with John is, you know, you just email somebody kind of blindly. And if they blind trust you like John did, it's like, yeah, well, absolutely, this is a great idea. So John did the same thing. And same thing on our end. He came back with, you know, 100+ miles of routing. And I was like, well, okay, guy seems legit. I guess I should trust him through, like, you know, when you look on a map, it's like this red line through what looks like a strip mine, or in John's case, like a horse pasture. So you're like, okay, I'm going to blind faith that this is going to work out. So yeah, big shout out to John for making this happen. Otherwise, you know, it would still be semi-epic with 150 miles, but man, adding that whole western section, and, you know, it's an awesome section. Really made it what it is.
Yeah.
So Oveja Negra is a big one. And then Breaks Interstate Park they've been phenomenal with hosting us over the years. So yeah, they were all on board. Same thing. They're like, well, yeah, this is a great idea. We'd love to have it start and finish from here.
Is there anything else I haven't asked you, about this that you'd like to share with the Kentucky cycling audience?
I know your audience is not all bike packers. You got some gravel riders and road riders and mountain bikers. I think this is a route to where, you know, if you think of it like applying filters or shopping for a car, it's like, well, I need a truck, I need 4-wheel drive, I need an extended cab. This is the same kind of route. It's not for everyone. And we, you know, we recognize that, and we're not encouraging you to do it. It's right. Like, do these filters hit with you? Are you okay with dogs? Are you okay with meth heads? Are you okay with climbing 40,000 feet? You know, if you can tick all those filters off across your board, or at least most of them, and you're like, yeah, this sounds like a semi good idea, then, you know, go for it. But yeah, we're trying to be transparent about it. It's hard. It's not for everybody, but for those that it is for, you know, we already have a lot of people queued up that are super stoked about this being released. So we're happy to get it out into the world and to have riders actually get a chance to, you know, ride 300 miles in our neck of the woods.
Awesome. Is there anything, John or Doug, that you guys would like to add?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what he said, some of the guys that raced Wardaddy, they said, I was asking them if that's a race that they would recommend. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, but not to a first time.
Sure.
You know, racer. Like, you don't want that to be your first race, but that's probably the same type deal with this breakdown route. But Shawn mentioned this, I guess, in your other podcast the other day. You know, Wardaddy is going to be September 25th this year, so about a month out from the grand departure. So if you want to just get your toes wet, try things out, learn a little bit of the course, show up to do the Wardaddy race, you're going to get a little bit of a head start on, you know, what you're going to be in store for the breakdown route.
Good deal. Doug, what about you? Anything else? Final thoughts?
It's fun. It's hard. It's fun. Like these guys said, just know what you're getting yourself into. Make sure it's your deal, but it's a good time.
Very
if
good.
If you hate yourself and like to punish yourself, it's a great time.
Awesome. Well, I think that about sums it up. All right. Well, I'm going to say thank you all very much for participating in this Zoom interview, and encourage folks who are looking for an epic challenge to go and check out the Breakdown Bikepacking Route. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
As always, if you found this content useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.